Ladies and gentlemen, today we have an absolute ton of information on the 3 new characters coming with next month's monthly event, which is set to debut this Wednesday. So these characters, we have Blade, Mephisto, and Morningstar. And each one of the characters, there is so much to them and so much to talk about in terms of their abilities. A lot of characters do some very interesting stuff with already existing characters or their unique synergies. So yeah, I think we're in for a very, very exciting month. And I reckon actually a couple of these champions might actually shake up some of the endgame quite heavily in terms of what they do, and we'll have a little bit of a chat about that. But before we get kind of digging into this information, I want to give a massive shout out to your boy JJW from the unofficial MCOC podcast. Spent absolutely hours yesterday evening kind of digging through some of the game files and kind of bringing all this information out and kind of formatting it into a readable format. So there is some stuff that is missing. So some stuff in kind of brackets like this is stuff that doesn't have a defined value within the game files at the moment. So if you kind of see those squiggly brackets, that means that there isn't a defined value and that number is subject to change. So we've got a rough outline of, what the champions do and their various abilities, and kind of, it gives us a good idea of how they're going to be played and a rough idea of what they might be good at. And that's what we're going to talk about today, because there is some very, very interesting stuff. We're going to make a big start with Mephisto. If you want to link to this document or the unofficial MCOC podcast, going to plug that today as well. A link to those will both be in the description of this video. So we're going to start off with Mephisto, who has apparently been confirmed as a Mystic Champion. We already know that Mystic Champions, they have quite an edge with Mystic Dispersion. And looking at Mephisto and his abilities, my initial kind of, I think like every character, like Mephisto, Morningstar, and Blade, they look like they're both going to have uses in terms of like actually playing the character, and also uses for Alliance War defense. Like each one of the characters looks like a very, very interesting defender, but I'm just saying this before we start, Mephisto is going to be a champion. I reckon by the end of, like, in a month's time, everyone's going to be like, fuck Mephisto. Like, we absolutely hate this character. It's just so annoying to fight. And I'll talk a little bit about why, I believe everybody's going to be on the fuck Mephisto train pretty damn soon. But yeah, there are potential counters to him, but we'll have a little bit of a chat. So the first thing Mephisto has is he is immune to poison. So a little good thing there. Poison immune champions, always pretty good. The next thing, which I don't really see too much benefit to this, so he has energy resistance for the duration of damage over time debuffs, but he is immune to poison, and also in the next line, he's apparently also immune to, instead of taking incinerate damage, he instead converts that buff into more power, so it doesn't take incinerate damage. Instead, when he gets an incinerate, he gains more power instead. And he is also immune to Frostbite and Cold Snap, which I think is a huge, huge pro of the champion. So Frostbite and Cold Snap are the 2 debuffs that Iceman has. Frostbite is the one that's applied via critical hits, and Cold Snap is the one that's applied right at the start when he's awakened, and also via his special one. So Mephisto seems to be the first champion that counters Iceman pretty effectively, just by not allowing his debuffs to be applied. So yeah, some really, really good stuff there. But I don't know if those buffs instead generate power as well, but I think he's just kind of flat out immune to them. So we're gonna have to see there. So this is another mechanic that is shared between both Mephisto and Morningstar have this. So this is something we haven't seen before. He's going to start a quest with 1 persistent soul charge, gaining an additional charge each time he knocks out an opponent, up to a maximum of a certain amount of soul charges. Again, these bracket values are not final or definitive, and then persistent soul charges travel with him from fight to fight. So as you go from fight to fight, you're gaining more soul charges, which kind of ramp up your damage, and also potentially increase regeneration, which are essentially in the next 2 lines here. So he's going to inflict additional incinerate damage per persistent soul charge. So as you're going from fight to fight, his damage is ramping up, and also when below a certain amount of health for each persistent soul charge he has, has, it will be consumed, regenerating a certain amount of health per charge, and also making him immune to damage while he is in this regenerating phase. So that is a bit of an interesting mechanic there. Hopefully it's a little bit more powerful than, you know, but Phoenix has a very similar mechanic, but that one's very, very weak. So yeah, hopefully this is pretty damn powerful. That would be awesome. But, you know, that might... if I assume he's just going to start with one soul child, so when you're fighting Mephisto, he's going to be kind of like fighting a Phoenix, but if you're playing the character, it might kind of, you know, over 5 to 10 fights be pretty much a full regeneration or something like that. But yeah, interested to see kind of the values and exactly how that one works for sure. So this is where Mephisto starts to get a little bit fun. So when Aura of Incineration is active, Mephisto generates power for his passive power gain. Also, for each stack, nearby opponents take incinerate energy damage per second. So this Aura of Incineration, it can be triggered by multiple things, and it means, you know, people near Mephisto, you're going to take incinerate damage. And you're also during this point, he's going to be generating power, which, you know, especially combined with Mystic Dispersion in Alliance War Defense and PvP scenarios, that can lead to some interesting stuff. But let's talk about the ways that he gets Aura of Incineration. I think that's actually good. We'll actually talk about that. So the first one is via his Special 2, which will make it trigger for a certain amount of seconds. The Special 3, bit of an interesting mechanic here. This is only really applicable when you're actually playing Mephisto. But once a fight, Mephisto instantly drains up to 2 bars of power from the opponent, and if the maximum amount is drained, Mephisto activates his Aura of Incineration for the rest of the fight. So if you use your Special 3 on an opponent that has 2 or more bars of power, you have that Aura of Incineration for the rest of the fight. Again, it's not really something that's going to be active when you're fighting Mephisto, but it's something to really kind of hopefully ramp up the damage and power gain when you're playing the character, maybe leading to some pretty crazy scenarios there. So I'm interested to see kind of how that one works. And his signature ability is Burning Aura. So this Mephisto burns with anger when getting struck, activating his Aura of Incineration around himself. So again, we don't know how kind of predominant that signature ability is, but just by being struck, he can activate and incinerate around himself, and also the power gain. Seems pretty tricky. Seems like that's going to be a little bit of a pain in the ass. But again, there are counters to this champion, and we'll talk about that in a second. And then the final thing we have is Mephisto burns with anger, having X% chance to activate his Aura of Incineration for a certain amount of seconds on well-timed blocks. I think that's actually the chance while being hit, and then that increases on well-timed blocks. So when you have this character awakened, while you're ramping up to that Special 3, essentially, you know, that's going to be the strategy, unless it's so predominant when timing parries. So yeah, essentially more power gain, more incinerate damage. So yeah, I don't know. Again, it's a little bit too early to say. And the final thing that Mephisto does is he has this the Soul Prison ability. So Mephisto imprisons the opponent's soul at the start of the fight, reducing their chance to activate buffs by a certain amount for a certain amount of seconds. And then you can also reapply that or extend it via the Special 1. But however, that consumes a persistent soul charge to imprison the opponent's soul, reducing their chance to activate buffs by a certain amount for a certain amount of seconds. However, this mechanic actually doesn't seem that great, because Fate Seal, you know, is very easy to get on champions like Hood and Ghost Rider, and you know, you've got like that reliable buff nullify on champions like Dr. Voodoo and Scarlet Witch, and also Magic. So this consuming a soul charge, I don't think that's mainly going to be the reason that you choose to play Mephisto. But yeah, I'm interested to see exactly how powerful that is. So yeah, it looks like for the majority of the fight, you know, Mephisto's going to have increased power gain combined with Mystic Dispersion. It's going to be having his Aura of Incineration quite a bit. So in terms of like which champions, you know, are going to be able to go up against Mephisto, well, Mephisto seems to be a great counter to Mephisto, because again, as we mentioned at the start of the video, he is Incinerate immune. So yeah, Mephisto, I don't know, he might work pretty well against Mephisto. But there is also an unsung MVP that I think is going to emerge in the next month. And this is a champion that when came out, I think he was very much in the dust. But now, Mephisto is his chance to shine, ladies and gentlemen. We are, of course, talking about your boy Vulture. When awakened, he absorbs any Incinerate debuffs and converts it into Chitauri energy, and he can use his Chitauri energy to power drain even more. So I don't know. I was just reading through Mephisto, and I was like, damn, they have made this champion Vulture, where everyone was like, okay, this got some interesting mechanics, but he doesn't really seem relevant in too many matchups. Damn, guys, I'm telling you, Vulture is going to be the MVP of Mephisto fighting. When it comes to Alliance War, everyone going to be chucking those rank 4 Mephistos. There are going to be rank 4 Vultures coming up everywhere. Everyone's going to go crazy for that 5-star Vulture Crystal, because we're all going to be sick of fighting Mephistos and being incinerated for days. So yeah, I don't know. I'm very, very interested to kind of see what comes of Mephisto and, you know, exactly how predominant this aura of incineration is. But also another counter is Iceman. So I believe those are the only 3 champions that effectively should quite nicely counter this. But again, with Iceman, you're going to have really, really gimp damage because you can't apply your Frostbite or Cold Snap. But it should still be about the same as Vulture. Like, Vulture's damage does kind of suck a little bit. But yeah, in terms of synergies, what do we have here? So we have energy resistance while taking damage over time, Mephisto and Dormammu. I don't really get the point of this one. Maybe to kind of reduce some of the incinerate damage on champions that aren't immune to incinerate. Maybe that's it. But again, I'm not too sure on that one. And then apparently there's I don't really get this one. There's Pack Demon. Oh, I think that also with Dormammu gives Mephisto increased incinerate damage, so that's more damage there. The next one is Doctor Strange. Allows here Doctor Strange's lifesteal to heal an additional amount, so I don't know how powerful that's going to be, but this one actually annoys me a little bit because you know, I think it's been aware since 12.0 that Doctor Strange's lifesteal is really, really behind, and everyone's like, can we just, you know, we spent all these resources, like, getting our Doctor Stranges ranked up and pimped out, can we just have Doctor Strange, like, to a decent level? And to bring him to a decent level with his lifesteal via a new champion, I don't know, it's a little bit like, oh, come on, Kabam, like, just buff Doctor Strange, like, make him a good character. Don't buff him via Mephisto. I mean, it's nice that this is being added, but if you acknowledge that he can be more powerful, then yes, just buff the character, man. Stop trying to sell us the new one to make our already existing characters viable. Because Doctor Strange, man, he's definitely fallen a little bit below the curve. But anyway, I digress. The next one is with Ghost Rider, plus 10% attack at the start of the fight, probably applicable to both champions, so that's really, really awesome there as well. But yeah, I'm interested to kind of see a little bit more about these unique synergies with Mephisto for sure. And then what else do we have? I think there is also going to be one with Morningstar. Again, he does mention that the synergies are a little bit messy to kind of understand via kind of the data mining. I think it's on Unity at the moment, but I think this one's via Morningstar, and this will essentially grant him like an additional persistent soul charge at the start of the fight. So yeah, that could work quite well if you're looking to kind of get into the heart of the action, but it again depends on the effectiveness and ramp up of some of this incinerate stuff. But Mephisto, I really like the champion. Kind of my first thoughts. I think that I like that there are solid counters to him in the form of Mephisto, Vulture, and Iceman. Just by the initial kind of look at this character, again, it's hard to tell for 100% until we exactly see him in game. I like that they finally put in a champion that completely counters Iceman's Cold Snap at the start of the fight. So yeah, some really promising stuff with Mephisto. You know, I think, you know, when we get into the Morningstar and Blade stuff, there's some really, really cool stuff coming each month. I also like the mechanic sake of kind of ramping up his damage and soul charges from fight to fight and making this champion increasingly viable as you go through quest to quest, and kind of rewarding the players that can stay alive and play really well just by kind of, you know, making that champion stronger and stronger and stronger. So yeah, Mephisto, initially I'm quite hopeful for the character, but I do believe he's going to be a massive pain in the ass to fight. If you are not equipped, if you have not done your homework, I believe Mephisto is going to take you to the absolute cleaners. So yeah, very interested to see how this champion turns out. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, what do you think of Mephisto? Let me know in the comments below. It's been an incredibly long video, but I feel like there was quite a bit to talk about with that character. So we're going to have a couple more videos coming today on Morningstar and also Blade. And then tomorrow we have the live stream where we're going to be going into the new patch and see these characters, and then making our way to Master Mode so we can see all the special frees and stuff. So yeah, really exciting next couple of days of Marvel Contest of Champions. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to smash that like button. That'd be greatly appreciated. Thank you very much for watching. Take care and have an absolutely fantastic day.